So moving right along in our last set of notes in Unit 6 on learning, and this one not being about conditioning necessarily, but more about observational learning. And we're going to talk about some names here and various experiments on how we learn through observation. It seems like a rather simple concept. Well, you just learn by watching other people. Yes, that's true, but being someone in the psychological field of science, you need to be able to explain it a little bit better than that. So higher animals, especially humans, learn through observing and imitating others. Okay, so again, it's not just simply observing them. We're going to talk about this some more. The monkey on the right in this picture here imitates the monkey on the left in touching the pictures in a certain order in order to get the reward. Okay, so what they see is not just the other monkey doing a certain sequence. They see the monkey doing a certain sequence and being rewarded. So this is true for we humans as well. It's not that we just see Susie in class doing a good job, or like raising her hand and turning in her nice, neat work on time. It's that we see her raising her hand and turning in her nice, neat work on time, and the teacher being very happy with her. So again, it's not just observing, it's observing a person's behavior and how they are rewarded, and therefore we want to imitate that behavior as well. Albert Bandura is the name of observational learning, and you need to make sure that you write that down. We're going to see him quite often throughout this course. So observational learning occurs in 4 stages according to Albert Bandura's theory. It's paying attention and perceiving features of another person's behavior. That's the observing part. Number 2, it's remembering that behavior. Like, oh yeah, I remember that one time she did this. It's then reproducing the behavior and then being motivated to learn and carry out the behavior because they were rewarded for it, and we are probably going to be rewarded for it as well. It's not just like observing someone being rewarded. It's also in order to avoid a punishment, right? It's vicarious learning. Should probably write that down too, observational learning being called vicarious learning as well, in that if we see someone being punished for something, we also then learn, oh, I don't want to do that because I don't want to suffer the wrath like they just did. So it's the same both ways. So Bandura experimented and did a study with Bobo dolls. So Bandura's Bobo doll study. And Bobo doll, you'll see, I'll include a video later, but you'll see this is here a Bobo doll, which is just a blow-up doll that you can push and it'll bounce right back, okay? So he did this study where it indicated that individuals, the children, learn through imitating others who receive reward and punishments. When children watched adults being rewarded for aggression toward the Bobo doll, they too acted aggressively when in a room with the Bobo doll. So in the picture here, you'll see an adult who's taking just a little toy mallet and hitting the doll. And then the children observe this woman being rewarded with something, like a piece of cake, let's say. Then you see this little girl down here who is released into the room, and what does she do? Oh my goodness, if I beat the heck out of this doll, I'm going to get a piece of cake, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to be aggressive towards this doll. There's a lot more extensive research on it than that, but this was his experiment on observational learning. So let's talk about applications of Bandura's Bobo doll experiment with observational learning. The good news from studies is that prosocial, positive and helpful models can have prosocial effects. Like, that's great, right? Like, we see all these great positive influences through observation. We want to do those things as well. The bad news from Bandura's studies is that antisocial models, not meaning like reserved or withdrawn, but negative social models, anything including from the family, neighborhood, TV, movies, video games, may have antisocial or negative effects. Let me take you back to Bobo doll experiment here really quickly. What they observed with the children. First, let me tell you, the adults never used anything other than the mallet or their own hands to be aggressive towards the doll. They also never said anything. But what they observed in the children later is that children who observed the adults being rewarded for being aggressive towards the Bobo doll were not only aggressive with their hands and the toy mallet, but they were also more likely to pick up a toy gun and use it to stab the Bobo doll with a toy, like, I don't know, blunt object, some sharp blunt object, I guess, I don't know. But they also were more likely to engage in profane language, and that they were more likely to curse at the Bobo doll. So it's not just they only observe and imitate the adult, but they kind of grow from there and do even more aggressive things. So what does it say about television and other different media sources for observational learning? Between the ages of 5 and 15, the average child will witness at least 13,000 violent deaths on TV. And this is, I would say, somewhat outdated research from 2004. And it showed that elementary school-going children who were exposed to violent television, videos, and video games expressed increased aggression. There's a lot of controversy over this and saying, well, video games and TV can't be to blame for everything, which is entirely true. However, if you remove all other influences, which is what a true experiment should do, it shows that the video games, the videos, and the TV alone will increase aggression in children. Some other implications. We don't necessarily imitate everything we see. This is true, even on TV and video games. It's not that we're just robots and we imitate everything. However, we are more likely to imitate those who we perceive as similar to us, or who are successful and admirable. If we want to be like someone, which we hope is always a positive thing, but think about a child who doesn't have a positive male role model in his life, and the only male role model he has in life is one who is abusive or engages in violent activities to move up in a certain organization he's involved in, yeah, they're going to imitate those behaviors. We're more likely to imitate those whose behaviors are being reinforced rather than punished, and even if those reinforcements are not positive ones, okay, even if it's fear from other people or through the accumulation of favors from other people. But then also whose actions and words are consistent. If they're exposed to hypocrisy, they will model actions and repeat words. If their behaviors are not very consistent, then the behavior is not as likely to be imitated.